high Vestal, I think, our senior year. But other than that, I think we did pretty well our junior and senior year. Obviously, we knew each other well. We interacted a lot, both in school and out of school. His house, I don't know if you know this, was right across the street from Academy.
Yes, from the old Ernie Davis. Yep, it is.
Yep, the old Ernie Davis. And we used to go over there often and hang out on his porch.
Okay.
His mom always used to be really friendly to us, and it was, just like he was one of the family. Of course, we were all very close with the teams, both basketball and football. And if you played any sports, you know how close and how closely you bond with your players.
Yep.
Having been on both football and basketball with him for 2 years, we became, really good friends. And it went on beyond that because he was recruited to go to Syracuse to play football, obviously, and I was recruited to go to Colgate.
Okay.
To also play football. And my freshman year, at that time, freshmen could not play varsity sports.
Yes, and I noticed that about Ernie because I tried to look up freshman stats, and they said that at that time period, freshmen weren't allowed to play.
Yeah, and so I actually played against him my freshman year.
Really?
At Colgate, because the Syracuse freshmen came down to play us, and so I saw him after the game for a short period of time. And I said, Ernie, it really was a lot better when we were both on the same side. We lost the game by only 6 points. And I remember vividly how we lost the game, and it was one of those fluke things that happened. Is that and I played a lot I was more on offense. At the time, the various teams were more offense or defense related.
Yes.
And it wasn't, so I really didn't, have to handle him. But it was really sort of the end of the first half, and we were on their, 6 or 10 yard line, hopefully to score before the end of the half, and our quarterback rolled to the right. And you could see how much an impact this had after 50 some odd years. I still remember.
Oh my God!
He rolled to the right, and our left end was going to go down and out in the back corner. So our quarterback rolled to the right. It looked like he was going to roll into the end zone, and he was going to pass to this end who was going the opposite end, going down and out to the opposite corner.
Okay.
And our quarterback underthrew.
Oh.
And one of their defensive backs picked it up, and I think he ran 106 yards or something for a touchdown. So rather than us scoring, they scored, and that was the difference in the game.
Oh my gosh!
But that was the end. I didn't play after that. I played lacrosse after that. Not because of that game, but I just decided I didn't want to play football anymore.
Okay.
And I played lacrosse. And the next year, obviously some of my good friends at Colgate played against Syracuse.
Yes.
And that year they won the national championship.
Yes, and it was 61, I believe, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And so in 60 is when, let's see, when did we play them? It was 58. We played them in, was it 58 or 59? So we graduated, we were in the class of 58.
Okay.
And I went to Colgate, so it was 58. It was 59 we played them.
All right.
We played them the fall of 58, and I think they went on to win a national championship. So it would have been New Year's on 60, I think.
Oh my gosh.
But they played Texas, I believe.
Yes, in the Cotton Bowl, yeah.
Yeah, and so I saw him occasionally in Elmira then. I didn't see him very much more at Syracuse. He was pretty much involved with the with the university as friends there. So we didn't see much of each other except if we were back in Elmira. I'd see him occasionally.
Okay.
So that's the connection with Ernie. And the only other connection I could say was a much sadder one, and that was that I went to when he was drafted by the Browns.
Okay.
He went to Cleveland, and that's when they diagnosed him with leukemia. And when it first happened, I went back. Tom, I was in Ohio. Let's see, what was it? Yeah, I knew that they had drafted him. He had leukemia, and then it was in remission after a while. He went down to I think Bethesda or NIH to get some treatment, and they had it in abatement. So he felt pretty good. I remember talking to him. He actually I think he played basketball off season with some of the Brown professional football players. He was a great basketball player too, and so he toured around and played basketball. And Ernie played then. It sounded like he was, and he never played for the Browns the first year. Then he recovered. He was supposed to play again, I think the second or third year. But that's when I went back to Elmira for my grandfather's funeral, and our coach, Marty Harrigan, saw me at my grandfather's funeral and said, "Ralph, have you seen Ernie?" And I said, "No, I was in Ohio at the time, doing a master's degree." And I said, "No," I said, "I've talked to him, but I haven't seen him." He says, "Well, if you get a chance, see him, because Ernie and I kept talking to him. You got to come up for the season. You know, it's going to be really great. I'll get you tickets."
That's awesome.
Blah, blah, blah. And so then Marty told me, he says it's not common knowledge, but it's the cancer is coming back, leukemia is coming back.
Oh,
so if you get a chance to see him, you ought to do it. So I remember I was in Ohio, and he was, and I contacted him. I said, let's try to get together. And it was so sudden. It was like 3 or 4 weeks later. We never got together. Next thing I knew, he died. And it was very, very sad. That was the first time I really experienced someone that close at 20 years old dying, and it was 24 years old. I think he was 22 or 23.
Yeah, I think he was 23 when he died. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the relationship. So I don't know what other kind of information you have, but I know that was your first question.
Yeah, and
that relationship.
I mean, that's so tragic that happened. That it was like you said. So like 3 or 4 weeks before he died, you called him and wanted to get together.
Well, I wanted to try and see him if I could. And I can't remember if I talked to him or sent him a note or something. Of course, we didn't have email. We didn't have cell phones or anything like that. It wasn't quite that easy to get a hold of people.
I bet.
But those are a lot of the memories, and I mean, obviously, a lot of the memories were in football and basketball. And he was extremely. That's the second question about memories of experience. Extremely competitive.
Really.
But also not to the extent of being difficult to be a teammate. I mean, he was always very team oriented. He was really targeted his senior year, especially in football. They knew that if they could harness him and get at him or get after him, that they would do well. So he took a lot of heat, a lot of punishment his senior year.
I bet.
They knew he was
something special.
He was that way, yeah. And so I think that and he was such a wonderful person. I mean, he was fun to be with. He was diligent in school. He applied himself. He didn't take advantage of his notoriety. He's very humble. And it was all just part of his demeanor that everybody really liked him and thought of him as a friend. I mean, it didn't matter whether you were, working in a totally different area, whether you were an honor student and not interested in sports. He had he didn't degrade anyone. He didn't feel that anyone who wasn't in sports wasn't worth his time.
Uh-huh.
He was always open to that. And unlike a lot of the other athletes or others, he took difficult courses and he applied himself. So it wasn't hard. I mean, really good schools were after him, obviously, because of his athletic ability. But
yeah.
there's never a question whether he could survive academically in college. So
Okay.
I think that was really never much of a question.
Yeah.
There are many memories, more detailed memories, but I think having been I remember a lot of events where after we won our 52nd game and won all kinds of conferences and everything, I think that they had dinners and they had various assemblies and things of that sort. I think that was really the special times I remember. Having met was around for all of those. And I think the success that we had, especially in basketball, was due to Ernie.
Yeah.
But it was really a very tight group of 10 or 12 of us for 2 years, junior and senior year. Different ones of us, worked together to make that happen. I mean, my role was more of a player who came off the bench. I substituted for Ernie a lot in basketball.
Okay.
I didn't substitute very much. Coach Jim Flynn never let any of us in until the victory was absolutely secure, unless it was essential. A couple of times Ernie got in foul trouble, and so, but that was my role. But again, it was our relationship together as friends and competitors that made it so valuable. But that was, I think, what I want most people to remember about Ernie is that he was a wonderful human being, and everything about him was just first rate. He was an athlete. He was a scholar, not a scholar, but he really applied himself to academics.
Worked hard.
He didn't let his notoriety get in the way of any of that, either in friendships or asking for any special favors. But the combination of his athletic ability, his personality, and his and from an athletic point of view, his teamwork and his team atmosphere, those are the things I want everybody to remember about him. It just shows you that people with athletic ability that he had, it took more than just that. It took dedication, it took work, and it took a kind of total person to make something like that happen. And there's great athletes. There's always great athletes, but Jim Brown, who preceded him at Syracuse, was also a great athlete. But Ernie had so many more positive personal traits. I never knew Jim, but I mean, he really had so much more to offer than many of the athletes I did know.
Yeah.
And, but I think he was something, and it's really great that you have this place and make sure that people remember him, because it is a memory that you don't want to die.
Exactly. I mean, just his presence and like the air about him in Elmira is just it's just incredible. Like people, like as soon as you mention Ernie's name, like people's eyes just light up. They're like, yeah, he's from my hometown. Like they're proud to be from Elmira.
Well, the Syracuse people are the same way. You go to Syracuse campus, there's dorms named after him. There's all kinds of things named after him too. So
exactly, yes.
Did you see the movie The Express?
I did see that. Yes.
So that really emphasized more the Syracuse part of it, not so much the Elmira part.
Yes.
But that tells you a lot about how he was in Syracuse and how they felt about him there too.
Yes.
He had a rough time at Syracuse. I mean, there was race relationships that played a big role in, especially the trip to Dallas, I think Dallas Cotton Bowl, the Cotton Bowl.
Yep.
And that part of the movie was highlighted. It was maybe a little bit more exaggerated, but probably true. And the effect he had on just race relationships. And of course, at that time, it was the beginning of the '60s, and he really projected an outstanding member of the African American community, and he carried that banner really well. And that was not easy to do at that time, especially when you're traveling down to Texas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It took a lot inside a person to do that, and I think that was another factor that played out more in the movie about the role of his heritage. His mother played a big role. He thought highly of her. She was always around. She came to some games, but I don't remember her at many games.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, you might have to ask someone else about that, but I don't remember her. But obviously I do remember her. I used to see her, and I came back if I could.
Yep.
Like I said, they lived across the street, so it wasn't very hard not to see them.
Exactly.
Well, listen, you just be sure to send me that link.
Oh, of course. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this, Mr. Quatrano.
Okay, and I'm sure you were able to find pictures, and there's